which just collapsed. And it means that we can do stuff which isn't just about money. It can be about other stuff again. It's a window of opportunity. And the big companies are stopping risks. But just like, I think when punk happened, there's a possibility for new, radical adventure. I just wanted to show another kind of extreme project. We were asked to redesign the Times newspaper in London. They went from a big size to a tabloid and effectively went from living in a big house to living in a bedsit. So our job was to kind of unpack their cases and get rid of all the stuff they didn't need. And we said to them that each day the news is a new drama. So we didn't give them rules, but we just gave them a box of props and costumes. We said every day you go in, it's a new drama. You're going to roll your sleeves up, make the news fresh every day, and then at the end of the day you're going to get drunk in the pub, and the next day you've forgotten it. And the other thing they said to us was we had to redesign the newspaper so that no one would notice. Which is an interesting challenge. So our starting point was the logo, and the Times is the world's oldest newspaper. It goes back, I think, to 1740. And these are all the mastheads since that time. And we discovered that until 1966, it only had classic, oh my good God, how many cameras are there? I went to Japan once. I mean, well, many times. But if you go to any Zen garden, people don't meditate in the garden. They photograph the garden and meditate at home. So we went back to 1966. This is the first year that they actually put news stories on the front cover. And this was the logo at the time. Underneath this is the logo of the newspaper that we took over. And it's very rounded, it's soft. Which means that on newsprint is very grey, which means that if you use a low contrast typeface, it's hard to read. So we combined the two to give really sharp edges. And then experimented, I think we had over 200 different versions. Sorry, off, but the screen is really out of focus, it's very soft. Maybe later today you can try and fix this. So we did about 200 different versions. This was the font that we inherited, that they were using, and then this is the one we created. It's narrow, so you can get more words on the page. It's sharp. We put emphasis on the parts of the characters which would be most readable, to make it easy to read. And the contrast between the thin and the thick bits are exaggerated to make it readable at a small size. And we created several different weights for this, and had a minimum of about 256 characters per weight. And then this is the amount of stuff we did. Tiny, tiny changes from a new page number to creating a device to link different pages in the same story. And I put them all down just to figure out how much we've done. And my computer's decided to freeze. So we felt as if it was taking an old car, leaving the car but changing the engine. So everything inside was completely different. So you thought you were driving the same car, but the experience was completely different. You got to where you wanted faster, you got to where you wanted more clearly. And this is what we inherited, and this is what we did, which looks the same. But it isn't. Just small touches, like the news column on the left takes the eye to the back page. The logo is in full width, because on a broadsheet, full width would be too big. So we moved the small news stories to the right. We took the masthead full width. We looked at usage on the internet. How do you understand a story? You have entry points that you click. So we introduced entry points. We introduced 10 different templates for the cover so they could do a single big story. This is a very conservative paper. You could have a story of multiple parts. So this was the contents page, the first page. Before, and there's a lot of use of capital letters, it's very masculine, as they thought. And what we introduced, we rebuilt the page completely so that it felt the same, but it was softer. There's more entry points. So a typical news page would be like this. Here's the news story surrounding it, and an opinion piece underneath. You can't tell the difference. So this is what we did. We introduced a ragged type with a sans serif headline for opinion pieces. We put the stories onto 5 columns instead of 6. We had introduction, we have pull quotes, we have an information box. We've introduced numbers. We've introduced pictures across the fold. We've introduced more graphic illustrations that's about information. So now they have 10 to 15 different entry points and ways of telling the same story. It makes it more dynamic. It makes it more dramatic. It's a narrative. And I'm doing this in print. We now have to think about how can we bring this into a web experience. You know, if you go to a newspaper and go to the story in a newspaper on the web, it's normally a block of text, and that's it. It's as if we've forgotten how to make stories great. So here's the opinion page before, and what we did with it, which looks the same, feels different. Opening pages for each section.